Hi, this is Marcey Rader, your productivity lead at Rader Co. I'm the principal contributor to the Health Powered Productivity podcast, where we give you bite-sized nuggets of knowledge in areas of productivity, health, and clutter that you can implement right away. Looking for ways to support our health powered productivity mission? We welcome donations to our tip jar, linked in the show notes. We encourage you to check out our Rader Co recommendations page on our site, where we list all of our favorite products, services, and apps. We get a little kickback and you get vetted tools that we use ourselves. Now, on with the show. Embrace the bottleneck. No one wants to be the bottleneck. Yet, how often do we celebrate those who admit they are? In the last year, I have transformed my mindset around the word. I see it as an opportunity rather than an embarrassment or a means to reprimand someone. In 2020 and 2021, I went through the Run Like Clockwork program, and one of the things we looked for were bottlenecks in our company. I became fixated on finding bottlenecks, whether a system, a person, or a process. On Fridays, we have our weekly stand-up where we state our lessons earned, big wins, recognition for someone who went above and beyond, and our priorities for the next week. Each person completes this in our project management system, ClickUp. It's an assigned task every Friday, so no one forgets it. On Mondays, we all have a recurring task to review everyone else's entries. The first question on that list is bottleneck or challenge. I wanted people to find them, and we celebrate when we do. If we don't name it, it can't be fixed. We practiced blameless problem solving to determine how to remove the bottleneck. When someone said, I was the bottleneck, I verbally high-fived them and thanked them for pointing it out. Instead of it being a dirty word or fears of repercussion, it was a celebration, especially when they called out themselves or me. I can't tell you how many times that I would read the weekly stand-up and Lisa would say, I was the bottleneck this week, or Ray would say, big bottleneck, on my end this week, but they were able to fix it. Are you regularly asking what bottlenecks are occurring when you have your team meetings? We removed so many jams in 2021 that the question rarely has an answer now, unless we've had a change in a process or team member. It helped tremendously when we had a shift in personnel and cut our staff hours by half. And this wasn't because we were hurting for business or we needed to cut funds. We just simply streamlined. We could do this because of our written processes and ability to think upstream and remove the barriers. When we had our end of year meeting, my concierge and I, Lisa Wood, our concierge, we sat down and we had a few different processes that we thought, what can we look at upstream? How can we make this simpler? What are the bottlenecks or barriers? And we just went through boom, 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 and everything's an experiment and we're testing it out. And, if we find that there's a bottleneck within that, then we will change it, right away. We're not going to just keep doing it. And it sounds so logical, but it happens all the time. Unless we are making the word bottleneck and finding bottlenecks at the front of everything that we do, it's just going to be on the back burner. The next time you have a meeting with your team, challenge them to find a bottleneck and report to you with a solution. Give bonus points if they call you out as the bottleneck. Do what Adam Grant recommends and have a brainwriting session if it's systemic. People are more likely to resort to the status quo or what a person in hierarchy suggests in a typical brainstorming session. Instead, have people write their ideas, submit them, and then talk about them. You'll end up with more creative solutions. You can even make them anonymous so that if they're far out or crazy, the person won't be embarrassed. But often, those are the ones that are going to solve your challenge. One of my clients, when I was talking about this thought process of upstream, downstream, and what's happening downstream, where are the bottlenecks, and let's look upstream and figure out, what's happening. She was talking about payroll and accounting, and it all came down to when she received the information from HR, and there was this bottleneck there. And so by looking upstream, calling it out, naming it as a bottleneck, this is something that they can address this year. One of my clients has an accounting firm, and she told her team that they were going to start, talking about bottlenecks at each team meeting, and she wanted them to start writing down every time they came across a bottleneck or what they perceived as a bottleneck. And her team laughed, and she said, I know, I'm the biggest one. I am the biggest one. And it doesn't mean that you solve them all at once. It means that you go one by one and you ask for solutions. Sometimes if the leader is the bottleneck, then you can simply, it might even be a case of, leader, you don't need to be approving this anymore. Or leader, we can handle this on our own, or we don't need this extra step. But you've just been doing it that way as status quo, and we're not always looking at it again. Make bottleneck a fun word. Give a bottle of wine, or in my case, a bottle of root beer kombucha, to the person who finds the most bottlenecks and solves them every quarter. Embrace the bottleneck. If you're interested in learning how to work with your team to reduce bottlenecks, reach out for a discovery call by visiting hello.raderco.com. If you're interested in the Run Like Clockwork program that Rader Co went through, click the link in the show notes. Pretty please? It's an affiliate link where I get a small kickback that helps keep this show going. Whatever you choose, embrace your bottlenecks and then get rid of them. Thank you for listening to the Rader Co Health-Powered Productivity Podcast. Please subscribe, leave a review, and forward this episode to at least one person you know could benefit. And can I ask a favor? If you felt this podcast was valuable, please consider supporting it by donating to our tip jar to continue giving you bite-sized nuggets of knowledge. And get your sneak peek of my latest book, Work Well, Play More, Productive, Clutter-Free, Healthy Living, One Step at a Time, with the novice behaviors from chapter 1 that includes how to deal with all those rings, pings, and buzzes, how to declutter your digital desktop and why it's important, and how to play hide and seek with your food to help with portion control. It's waiting for you at helloraderco.com/gift.